to the EntreSummit stage. So please give a warm EntreLeadership welcome to Ken Coleman.
Thank you. Good afternoon. How you feeling, EntreLeadership? All right. You're the coveted after lunch crowd. You're nice and full, yes? Hey, two quick things, and we're going to dive into the content on growing leaders. One, Joe just mentioned that 10th year of Summit, my 10th year on this stage, and it's coinciding with me celebrating 10 years at Ramsey Solutions this year. And in light of that, going to be speaking this afternoon on growing leaders. I thank Dave a lot privately, but it occurred to me backstage a few minutes ago, I don't thank him enough publicly. I don't know if he's in the room, sometimes he is, but I want to take this moment to as I look back on the 10 years when I started out as an MC and hosting the EntreLeadership podcast, Dave has allowed me so much opportunity and has given me such a runway for professional growth and has modeled the way for me in so many ways. So I am forever grateful to Dave Ramsey, and I want you to help me thank him for how he's poured into you as well, because this event is for leaders. So let's thank Dave Ramsey publicly. Second thing real quick, I was backstage and Joe was talking about thoroughbreds and how many of you have been to an EntreLeadership event before? Any event? Raise your hand all throughout the house. You've been to an Entre. Okay, great. And so if you've heard us talk about thoroughbreds, we're always talking about donkeys, yes? And I was thinking, I learned something about donkeys the other day, and this is an extra leadership lesson this afternoon. So we live in Williamson County, Tennessee, and we have a lot of horses and a lot of livestock, and donkeys actually aren't all that bad. Did you know this? A couple things about donkeys. Number one, they're very protective. They keep the coyotes away. They'll kick the snot out of a coyote, apparently, and protect a lot of livestock. They're really nice and warm and sweet. If you feed them something, they're just sweet. They're actually pack animals to this day all around the world. They carry very important cargo. And one very, very special lucky donkey carried Jesus. That's pretty impressive. So here's the leadership lesson. We get on donkeys too much. If you lead donkeys well, they can become useful jackasses, all right? Not in the notes. I just think about stuff a little differently, So we're going to talk about growing leaders today, and I want to take you back to one of the greatest lessons I learned about leadership, and I didn't realize it until a few years ago, but it was my very first job. I'm 14 years of age. I grew up in the Tidewater area of Virginia, and in the summertime, it is steamy and hot and crazy nasty, and would you believe that my first job was working in a greenhouse in the summer in Virginia? My mom and dad got me a job at Anderson Florist and Greenhouses, and their specialty was they were kind of the local hotspot for poinsettias, the beautiful Christmas plant. We all love poinsettias. There they are on the screen. This is a beautiful, vibrant flower, and it's big business because it's a premium plant around Christmas time. And so I was hired as a laborer, $4.25 an hour. Yeah. By the way, 14, I was thrilled. And so my job, I meet Nick, the manager, first day. Nick was a big, strong guy. He had a mustache that grew too long over his mouth. I never saw his lips, but he was a fast talker, and he was loud, and he was intense, and I was 14, and I was scared to death of Nick. Well, Nick met me on the first day, walked me into this giant greenhouse, and he said, now there's about 6 more of these just like this, and here's your job. He said, you see these tables? And he showed me these big wooden tables. They were probably, 6 or 8 feet wide, 50 feet long, it seemed like. And they were wood, and then they had this grate on them. And he said, you see all that green stuff and brown stuff on those tables? I said, yes, sir. He said, your job is to scrub all that. Get it off. And he said, when you're done with that, he said, get down on your hands and knees, boy. So I got down on my hands and knees. He said, you see all that stuff under the table, all that green algae? He says, after you scrub the tables, you got to scrub that off the concrete floor. He hands me this big steel, looks like a giant toothbrush. And he goes, come here, I'm gonna show you the chemicals. Takes me to a closet, shows me this big chemical wagon, has these big, like sprayers on. He goes, spray that and scrub, and that's all you do. And I'll let you know when it's lunchtime. So that's what I did. For 2 weeks, my job was to go through every greenhouse, scrub every table, and scrub the concrete underneath those tables to make sure that there was no disease or no algae on those tables, because we were getting those greenhouses ready for what would be the small samplings, the cuttings of the poinsettias, and then they would grow to full fruition. So that was my job. And poinsettias are very sensitive, and so Nick impressed upon me, you better do this well. This place, you should be able to eat a ham sandwich off of this table, he used to say. And I said, yes, sir, and it went about, and it was the hardest job I ever had in my life. It was back-breaking, calluses, it was dreadful. But here's what I learned about poinsettias, that if the environment is right, that's the sunlight. We had these big drapes we had to drag over these greenhouses to make sure they got just the right amount of sun. If the environment was right, one of the most beautiful plants would flourish. And so growing leaders is very similar to growing plants. It is a very intentional process. Think about it. It's the prep, it's the planting, and it's the nurturing. And what is true for the poinsettias is true for leaders. And this is the message I want you to get today as we jump in the notes. Here we go. Leadership is not defined by production. Leadership is defined by reproduction. I'm looking at a room full of leaders that are productive. You wouldn't be here if you weren't productive. But hear me say, you're here this week to become great. There's a legacy of leadership that you are already putting into place, and you desire to grow leaders. The team sent me a picture. There's a board out in the lobby with a bunch of sticky notes on it. I don't know if any of you put something on it, but they told me there was a theme out there. An overwhelming amount of the insertions where I want to develop leaders. I want to train people to be better leaders. And so this really matters to you. And I'm telling you, you need to understand that I believe the definition of a great leader is one who reproduces himself or herself. So leadership is about reproduction, not just production. You can do really great in your day-to-day, but if you aren't replacing yourself, you are essentially harming yourself and the organization. So I'm gonna just teach you 3 simple principles today to, I hope, make this idea of reproducing yourself extremely practical and extremely doable. You ready to learn? All right, here we go. In our notes, the first principle is the greenhouse principle. The greenhouse principle. The greenhouse principle says this: a healthy environment will grow healthy leaders. A healthy environment will grow healthy leaders. Back to the greenhouses. Listen, we had to have just the right amount of sunlight. There were days where Nick and I would get up on the top of these greenhouses and pull the shades off. He felt like they needed more sun. There would be days where we'd have to put them back on. There was a watering system, a very intricate watering system, to make sure that these poinsettias were getting just the right amount of water. And of course, I had to do the preparation to make sure that there was no contamination, no disease, nothing that could infect and harm and stunt the growth of the poinsettias. It's true of leadership. So I want to talk with you today. By the way, a little bit later, we're going to do Q&A. We've got mics on both sides, and we're going to take some questions and have some fun. But let's have some interaction right now. I want to hear from you, all right? So let's look at the greenhouse environment here, and let's define what algae is and what disease is. So let's take some notes. We're going to do this together. Call out to me. What's something we would need to remove from your culture, from your work environment, to make sure that leaders can grow? What would we want to remove? What are the negatives? Indifference. Okay, give me another one. Gossip. Okay, what else? Donkeys. I already made that case. I think you need some serviceable donkeys. By the way, when I said that earlier, there's a guy in the third row who leaned over and somebody went, that's my team, I got a bunch of jackasses. That's not true, I made that up. Okay, what else? Come on. Fear, bad attitude, apathy, jealousy. You guys writing these down? Look, make your own list, but I want us to have some fun in the notes. Let's identify what you all know to be contaminants, things that can harm your culture and the environment. where leaders cannot grow, just like these plants. Anything else? Let's get 2 or 3 more. Mediocrity. Oh, that's quiet quitting, huh? Like that's become a badge of honor in today's workforce. Ego. Ego is the enemy. That's a good one. One more. Right here. Alligator arms. I know what that means, but what does it mean towards this? Just they don't want to put any effort, little meism going on? No buy-in. Okay, and then I heard one from the back that I got to honor because I thought it was great, entitlement. Okay, now, let's flip this in our notes. Just like the poinsettias needed sunlight, the right amount of water, what do leaders need to be able to grow? How do we inject some things? What are those things we inject into the environment where leaders can grow? Give me some positives. What are we gonna inject? What? Fruits of the Spirit. That's cheating right to the Bible. I like that. It's good. The guy just went, I'll show everybody else. I'm going straight to Scripture. Who wants to follow that guy? It was a good one. I admit that. Let's go. I heard one down here. Humility, yes. Hold on. Failure what? Yeah. Freedom to fail. Can I adapt that? Freedom to fail. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Give me a couple more. What? Education. I heard trust. Yeah. Accountability. All right. Whoever said that, give me again. Humble. Yes. Okay. Just a fun exercise. The reason I wanted to do that as a group is because I want you to go away from here and I want you to make the list. Make it very personal to your organization. What are things that I see right now that need to be scrubbed out of the greenhouse so leaders can grow? What are some things that I need to bring in? What are the qualities? What are the culture distinctions that will allow leaders to grow? And let me tell you why this is important. This is in your notes, in the blanks. Here's what I've learned, and I've studied the Gallup data in and out. I've coached nearly 10,000 people leaders who are leaving companies. That is my unique distinction at Ramsey, is to coach people on the air who are leaving leaders. And I have a heart for leaders. It's not leaders, it's not like you did something wrong necessarily. It's just you got to create an environment where leaders want to stay. We're not talking about rank and file today. We're talking about growing leaders. So in your notes, you ready? Here's what I've learned. If people don't want to be there, they won't want to lead there. Did you get that? It's pretty simple. If people don't want to be with you, they won't want to lead under you. So we have to start there. We've got to start to create an environment where they want to be there, then they'll want to grow. You know, this is one of my favorite quotes of all time about leadership. I had the opportunity, and I'm a blessed guy. You talk about a guy who doesn't belong in most places that he is, it's me. I got to work for John Maxwell, and now I work for Dave Ramsey, two of the great leaders of all time. John Maxwell said this 1,000,000 times. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. You're gonna have to model this list. What does my greenhouse need in it? What do my 4 walls need to look like, smell like, and sound like to where people want to be there and eventually will want to lead there? That's the challenge. You know, it's kind of like hiring a personal trainer who's winded when you go up the steps. People don't want to lead. People don't want to work for and lead under a leader who's so good. And by the way, they know if you're effective, whether you think you are or not. Second principle, in honor of one of our guests who will be on this stage on Wednesday, I decided to call this the Coach K principle. The Coach K principle. Mike Krzyzewski, one of the all-time greats, 5-time national championship winner, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest coaches to ever wear a whistle. This is the Coach K principle. It says, great leaders choose great talent. Simple. Great leaders realize that they're limited by the talent that they have. And in this case, we're talking about leaders under you. Great leaders choose great talent. So I want to tell you about the rest of the poinsettia story. So while I was getting the greenhouses and the tables ready for the plants, there were these 2 cousins named Vin and Sin. and they were Vietnamese, and they couldn't speak any English, but they were very nice to me, and they let me eat with them in the cafeteria. By the way, some of the worst smelling food I've ever smelled in my entire life. But very nice guys, they were awesome. And Vin and Sin were pros. And they were out in another giant greenhouse where there were rows of mature poinsettias. And they were literally like this all day, bent down, and they were cutting. And they were cutting what they thought were the best parts of the mature plant. And you can see this is the images there on the screen for you. And that's what they were doing all day long, literally like this in a catcher squat all day. And they were looking at the entire poinsettia plant, and then they were determining the healthiest cuttings. They would cut them, and then later we would put them in a styrofoam strip, probably about a foot long, and it had about 10 little holes in it, and we would put them in the holes of the styrofoam, and those would grow into mature plants. This is the idea of choosing great talent. The right environment is huge, but you gotta have the right talent. You gotta have the right talent. Getting the tables is ready, but if they didn't have the right cuttings, then we weren't gonna have beautiful plants. And in Coach K's situation, or any great coach, you can pick your favorite coach for this moment and put him in this scenario. But I read a lot about his story. I've gotten to know Coach K, and we'll share some of that on Wednesday. And I've got a really fun history with him. And I've admired him for a long time, and I've read a lot about what he does. And one of the things he said was the key to his success was he would recruit not just for the position on the basketball court, there's 5, but he would also recruit their background, their families. He would recruit the families. He said many times he'd go into a living room and it'd be a stud recruit, 5-star recruit. Everybody in the country's after this recruit. And he didn't like the way the family dynamic was. And he walked away going, it's not our kind of kid because it's not our kind of family. They were looking for a certain type of kid and a background. And he was also looking for what he called their spirit, which is the way they engaged in practice with their teammates and on the court. Same thing for you. So there's 3 questions that I'm gonna give you right now, very simple, for you to identify leaders within your organization or outside the organization for you to choose. So think we're on that poinsettia plant, and we're looking, we're examining, we wanna get the best. Here are the 3 questions in your notes. Number 1, first, let's look, where do I need leadership? You can't do it all, leaders, you know this. There's a theme going on out there in the lobby. I need more leaders. I believe it's the key to greatness is reproducing yourself. And so we start with, where do I need leadership? So let's look at this 2 ways. It's essentially delegation, maybe to get something off of your plate, or it's an execution issue within the organization. And so we need some leadership there. We're not seeing execution at the level that we'd like. I need some leadership here. So I'm scanning the organization. Maybe I've got too much on me, or one of my other leaders has got too much on them, and we need delegation. So that's what you're looking for. Let's look for the need. Where do I need leadership in my company right now? Number 2, who can do it? So in other words, who's got the right mix of hard skills and soft skills? Who's got the right temperament, the right personality, maybe the right chemistry? So we're gonna look at that now. Like, okay, who can do it? I'm now gonna say, I need some candidates, all right? And we got a lot of tradesmen in here. Anybody up here in the first couple rows that's in the trades? Anybody? Right here, sir. Okay, real quick, just for fun, just quick example. If you're looking for somebody to lead in your organization, just for example, give me the mix of hard skills. That would be the technical side of things, and then the people skills or soft skills. Give me the hard skills first. What would they need in your organization? Self-starter, not afraid to kind of sweat and get dirty. What's the business? Mechanical contractors, okay. Give me a couple other specific skill sets because they're gonna be leading. We're thinking about a leader, and so I'm just curious, when we think through hard skills and soft skills, what technical skills would they need? Give me a couple more. Mechanically inclined, they don't have to be the best, but they gotta know what they're talking about. What else? Good with their hands? Yeah. Okay, so he's saying they need to have a vision, kind of see where we're going. Okay, and then give me a couple quick soft skills. These are people skills. They need to be good at what people skills? Good communicators. We just heard about that. Hello, that's good. What else? Good listener. Okay. Coachable. Very good. All right. You see my point. You've got to walk through this and we're going, okay, in this position, I need it for execution or I need it for delegation. Who can do it? As I look throughout my organization, who actually has the mix, okay, of hard skills and soft skills? Third, who wants to do it? Who wants to do it? This is key. And the reason this is last is because this is where we really figure out who we're gonna select if we're gonna develop this leader or these leaders. Who wants it? How many of you remember being in elementary school and the teacher would ask a question and hands would go up? You remember that? You remember that? Yeah. Do you ever remember the kid, or maybe it was you who did this number here, where you just pushed it up a little bit? You know what I'm talking about? Me, right? Now here's the thing. When I throw out a point like this, you gotta be careful. Because I remember doing that, and I remember kids doing that. And you think, oh, this is good. They really, really want it. Yes, they do. You have to figure out why they really, really want it. Because here's the deal. Some people just want a raise and a title. Can I get an amen? Come on. Some people just want the leadership role because they want the raise and the title. Ooh, careful. I want to talk to everybody who raises their hand, and I want to find out who wants to lead people, who wants to serve people, who wants to listen to people, who wants to put up with people. Yes, leaders? I mean, who really wants the good and the bad? They want to lead, and you know how to figure that out, but you got to make sure that you figure that out. Third principle, my favorite principle. This is the Mr. Miyagi principle. Every leader needs a guide. Now, we got a lot of young people in here. Raise your hand if you've never seen the original Karate Kid. Okay, this is great news. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh gosh, there's a dude back there with gray hair that hasn't seen Karate Kid. Can you please do him a favor? Do you know him, ma'am? Can you do him a favor and make sure that before this weekend is out, that he watches one of the greatest movies ever made? Okay, all right. So this is gonna hit most of the crowd, and for the rest of you, it's fun and it'll still teach. The Mr. Miyagi principle. I was thinking, you know, who's one of the greatest movie examples of a guide? And it's Mr. Miyagi. Every leader needs a guide. Back to the poinsettias. I told you about rough and scruff Nick, my manager, didn't I? I used to see Nick. I'd walk by the greenhouses, and multiple times a day I'd see Nick in a very calm demeanor, examining with his reading glasses that were always hanging around his neck with one of those croquis, and he was examining those plants. He was looking at them really carefully. He would take an hour and walk through these greenhouses looking at the progress of these poinsettias. He was making sure that they were growing. And this is what Mr. Miyagi did so well. So in your notes, Mr. Miyagi is our example. Teach them how to lead. This is the guide. You got to teach them how to lead. The ones that you've identified now. See, we've identified them. We know where we need a leader. We know who can do it. And then we've got the people that really want to do it. Now we've got to actually teach them how to do it. The reason I chose Mr. Miyagi is because it's the greatest example, I think, of true leadership and reproducing yourself. Here's this old sensei who knows everything there is to know. And he's teaching Daniel. You remember? Come on, do it with me. He shows him the card and he says, wax on, wax off, right? And Daniel's going, are you kidding me? I just need to learn how to fight. I'm getting my butt kicked. And you're teaching me how to wax a car? Then he takes him to the fence. You remember this? Oh, up, down. You know, he's just grunting at him. And Daniel's rolling his eyes. What are we doing here? And he's teaching him this move. And listen, when Daniel didn't do it right, he showed him how. Do you remember? He'd stop it and he'd show him how. He was right there. That's right. This guy's doing it right here on the front row. He would stop it. I can't do it because I got a microphone. Yeah. He would, and he's showing him, and Daniel's going, you got to be kidding me, bro. I'm painting a frickin' fence. Was Daniel's son painting a fence? Was he? No. He was showing him. So here's the deal. Teach him the basics and the biggies. Teach him how to do job interviews. Teach them how to have difficult conversations. Get them out in the field and teach them how to do the mechanical piece or how to lead a mechanic. So here's how I would lead this guy. He's doing this right now. Here's what we prefer, but here's how I would talk to him about it. Get them out in the field. Get out there with them. Be Mr. Miyagi right there on the car. Wax on, wax off. Show them how. Be there with them. Now, we do this at Ramsey really, really well, and I want to throw this up. I don't have time to teach this, but I just want to show this. This is a part of our elite program, and this is the model that we teach. So when we're talking about Mr. Miyagi guiding leaders and showing the way, this is the model. This is what we teach, and we do this very, very intentionally at Ramsey Solutions. It is intentional for us to show, to teach, to guide. Second in your notes, after you teach them to lead, this is in your notes, empower them to lead. Leave them alone and let them do it. Mr. Miyagi was great at this. He showed him, and then he walked away. Remember Daniel's son in the movie, just kind of looking, where's Mr. Miyagi? He's inside doing his little bonsai tree, living his best life. He has empowered Daniel's son to do what he's taught him to do. I remember working in my college years for a home builder, And his father, he was probably in his mid-30s. His name was Mike. His father's name was Neil. Neil was in his 60s. And Neil started the company, and he was kind of slowly getting out of the business, but he would come around. Well, Mike hired me, and Mike was always there. And he was the lead contractor, and I worked for a framing crew doing all the labor work, hardest work, just insane work, crazy work. And so I remember it happened 2 or 3 times one summer that Neil would show up in his big old truck. He'd get out of the truck. He'd walk around the site, and I was busy doing my work, so I couldn't hear specifically what was going on. But I always heard the aftermath. And it was always Mike cussing and swearing like crazy, getting in his car and driving off. And I'd hear him say, why don't he just let me do this? And this is the son and the father, so you got that dynamic family business. But you also got a leader in Neil who said, Mike, you do it. But he would show up multiple times a week and change up decisions that Mike had made. That's not how you reproduce yourself. Mr. Miyagi, in this case, is our example. We are teaching, and then we need to step away and empower and let them fail, come alongside. And my favorite example of this, I'm a big football fan. You see a quarterback throw an interception, and a really good coach, they may get on them some, but they're also going to encourage that kid when they need it to come over and go, look, here's what you did wrong. You didn't read the defense this way. You should have let go of the ball sooner. Whatever the instruction is, watch. And then, hey, next play, get back out there. You've got to empower these leaders for them to grow. You got to give them space, if you will, to grow. If you plant plants too close to each other, then you're essentially choking them out, and you can be choking out the growth of the leaders under you. Number 3, coach them as they lead. Coach them. Coach them. Get on their level is what this is. This is get on their level. Come down to their level. They just messed up, or they just did something they're not sure about, and they're looking to you for some affirmation. Get down on their level. Meet them where they are. And this is about what I think is the heart of a coach is the correcting, which I just mentioned earlier, but also the instructing and then the encouraging. Mr. Miyagi was a great encourager. Just when Daniel-san would get so frustrated, Mr. Miyagi always had a way with words, had a way to encourage him. And we as leaders, if we're gonna grow leaders under us, we're gonna have to realize that sometimes they're just little boys and little girls who are looking at us as a parental figure, and they just need to know that they're okay, that they're safe, that they're not doing it as good as you, but they're eventually believe they can if you believe in them. I'll give you a story of this in my own life. My daughter Josie's 15 now, but 10 years ago, my wife asked me if I would coach her soccer team. And I coached all my kids. It's all I ever wanted to do was coach my kids in sports. It's all I ever wanted to do. And it's been such a great privilege to do so. Well, I had coached the boys, and I had coached Josie in a little basketball thing at 5 and 6. It's like, that's not really coaching, it's babysitting, and you know what that's like. They just run around like an amoeba, all over the place. And so I'm confessing to you now, as I confessed to my wife that night, I don't want to coach 5 and 6-year-old co-ed soccer team. I'd rather step in with Josie when she gets maybe 7 or 8, and they're a little bit more teachable. She said, well, they don't have a coach, and I volunteered you. And I said, well, why didn't we start with that? Why don't you just tell me you voluntold me, and then we save all this drama? So fast forward. We went through a couple practices. It's fall soccer. It's a really crisp October morning. I'll never forget it. Everybody's in line doing their drills. I just have them lined up, and they're in front of the soccer goal, and they're kicking the ball. And I'm just watching them and encouraging them. And here comes one of our little guys, and he's walking with his mom. His name is Josh. And Josh is one of those kids that had an unbelievable curly mop of hair that was just awesome. It just invited you to tousle it. And he was a good-looking kid, and he'd been kind of quiet in most of the practices, but I didn't really notice much. And on this day, he's walking onto the field, and you can tell his mom is holding his hand and essentially pulling Josh to us. And Josh was in tears. So I said hi to the mom. She went over the sideline, and I said, Josh, get in line. And Josh got in line, and the ball came to him. He just did one of these. Ball barely moved. Goes back around. I encouraged him. Comes up. He does the same thing. It's twice he's done it. Now, I don't know what came over me, but I just felt like I needed to say something. This is 5 and 6-year-old soccer, folks. It's not about a W. I said, Josh, come here. So he came over, and he's still, and I got down on a knee. And I said, hey, Josh, how you doing, buddy? Nothing. And I said, Josh, what's the bravest, toughest animal you know? He looked at me, didn't give me anything, and I asked it one more time. I was about done with Josh. I'm just keeping it real. He finally said, a bear? And I said, a bear? Yeah. I said, what sound does a bear make, Josh? And Josh goes, rawr. I said, Josh, we're outside right now. You're not gonna get in trouble with your mom. I want you to make the sound that a bear makes as loud as you possibly can. Can you do that? And he goes, he's beginning to transform. I said, Josh, what sound does a bear make? And he goes, roar, with his little hand motion. I said, Josh, the rest of today, when you get near the ball, I want you to make the sound of a bear. And I want you to attack that ball. Can you do that, Josh? And he goes, I said, get back in line. He gets back in line. And I'm gonna be really honest with you folks. I was just happy that he spoke to me at this point. That kid got up in line the next time. The ball was at him, and he came at that ball, I'm not kidding you, both hands. Rah! And kicked the snot out of that ball. Well, so we played in the game, and would you believe that Josh growled the entire game? Rah! He's running around. Here, the ball's over here. Like, Josh, the ball's over there. Rah! So after the game, I'm doing the very important coach's duties of packing up the oranges and the Capri Suns in isolation on the sideline. And I hear, Mr. Coleman. I turn around, and it's Josh's mom. She said, hey. She's crying. She said, I don't know what you said to Josh, but that's the first time I've seen my boy be himself in several weeks. His dad and I are going through a divorce. He's not talking. it's crushing him. And I just want to thank you because I haven't seen him have that much fun in a while. Now, I tell that story and it gets me every time because that's the heart of a coach. And I confess to you, I didn't have some grand strategy. I was getting a little irritated at the kid, but I got down on his level and I met him at 5-year-old Josh and the animal that he thinks is tough. And it worked. A total miracle that it worked. But I share it because this is the idea of nurturing the leaders and meeting them at their level and meet them at their heart level and encourage them and say, leadership is hard. I know, I've been there. I've messed up. I got your back. I'm with you. I need you. And watch them blossom. I shared this talk recently and somebody came up to me afterwards and said something, told me this, and I said, I got to steal that. Can I steal it? And they said, yeah. So Mr. Miyagi refers to Daniel as Daniel. Yeah, it's actually san. Did you know this? In the Japanese language, it is a hyphenated prefix or a suffix, suffix. English majors, don't get mad at me, suffix. Dash san, S-A-N. And this person told me this, and I went and looked it up because I wanted to make sure it was accurate, and it's accurate. And so that suffix of san, when Mr. Miyagi calls Daniel, Daniel-san, that's what the Japanese use for people that they respect. And an older person, certainly an older sensei like Mr. Miyagi, would rarely use that with a young student. So I don't know if the directors meant it this way, but the way it comes across in the movie and the way it is factually is that he is essentially showing Daniel respect, and he's saying, you are on my level. I'm going to teach you how to fight. You are worthy of me teaching you. You are worthy of me passing on the baton of this fighting skill. You are respected. And he calls him Daniel's son because he says, you are on my level. You have the potential and I'm going to help you. And I just think that is so beautiful. So I'll call you back and we're getting ready to do Q&A. Any questions you got, we're going to dive into this. But here's what I want you to hear. Back to the first point I made. Leadership is not defined by production. It is defined by reproduction. And in small businesses, which are represented throughout this entire room, many are family businesses. The legacy of your business is riding solely on your ability to reproduce yourself. And when you do that well, I promise you, your company is going to win and you as leaders will win because you will have figured out the great leadership trait. Great leaders reproduce themselves. Great leaders reproduce themselves. So here's what we're gonna do. I'll close in a little bit, but we're gonna do about 21 minutes or so of Q&A. It's always my favorite part at Entre. It always takes one to pop up. And so any question about what we taught about today, just pop up. We got a mic here to my left and a mic to my right. And you just pop up. We got people coming, somebody coming. It always happens. There we go. Just come on over. And it only takes one. So here's what we're gonna do. We walk through this stuff and we go, okay, in my situation, in my business, okay, how do I apply this? Or Ken, I'm dealing with this leader. I'm struggling with this. And that's where we're gonna go, okay? So we got one here. And so I know we got people moving. So just come, it's all the way down here on my right and then my left. Tell us your name and the business you're in, and then we'll get to your question.
Greg Punt, Freight and Logistics, and you touched on if you have a leader that wants it just for the pay and the title, but what if you have somebody that's very capable of it but doesn't want to move up? They're comfortable where they're at, but how do you coach them to move up and accept the next position?
Yeah, okay, now this is a really important question. And this is important because this is the natural tension that exists in the American workplace. Here's how it works in the American workplace. You do a great job. We notice you. I'm not done. I may have to ask you a couple follow-ups. Yeah. He just went ahead and got a cigarette and sat down. It was great. He was like, I'll hang up and listen. Thank you very much. No, I'm kidding. I do have some follow-ups, but I want to set the context for the audience. and you all know this, but here's what happens in the American workplace. You do a good job, you perform well. Here comes your annual review. We gotta give you a bump. We gotta do something. And eventually, what do? We promote you into leadership. And a lot of people don't want to lead. So back to your question, as I just taught, sounds like you believe they can lead, yes?
Yep,
But they've made it clear they don't want to lead, right?
correct.
Well, you have one option and one option only, in my opinion. You have to sell them with vision to say, here's what I need. I believe you can do it. I really want you to do it. But at the end of the day, if they don't want to do it after you've done your best vision casting, this may be controversial in this room. If it is, I'm sorry. I'd let it go. Because here's what happens. You promote a high performer into a leadership role they do not want, they will eventually leave you.
And she did.
Oh. I feel like that was a bit of a setup.
But she came back.
Oh, she came
and then
back.
I took it real slow motion.
But she came back, and
Yeah.
you're still trying to get her into that role.
Well, she's in it now.
Oh, boy.
But I want to do it right next time. So I
Okay.
pushed her into it. She
Yeah.
quit.
No, I
And
appreciate
then
that.
we
Yeah.
came back.
Well, if
over
you-
a 3-year period, she just worked herself into it.
But now she's willing?
Yep.
Okay, that's the key. Give him some love for that question. Yeah. Listen, leaders. I would rather have a high performer stay where they are who does not want to lead than pull them out of that and put them in a situation. Listen, you guys have to acknowledge something. I think we all know this. Not everybody wants to lead. I mean, this is tough stuff. Leadership is hard. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah, she's ready to go. All right, what's your name?
My name's Gabby.
And what industry?
I own 2 indoor entertainment businesses for my small town.
Okay, great. What's your question?
So in my first business, which I started a couple months before COVID, I was very in there day to day. And now that I have my second business, I have a team of about 18 staff members. And I'm struggling with just being here, being away from them, of trusting that they've got the business and that I'm not gonna be missing out on something. So the saying, like, the mice will play while the cats are away.
Can I set you free really quick?
Yes, please.
You're missing out on a lot right now.
I know.
I mean, you're talking to me and stuff is happening there.
I know.
I mean, you know?
I've only looked at the security cameras once.
Yeah. Bless your heart. That's growth. That's growth. Because I know that's hard.
So hard.
All right, so what's at the heart of your question? How do you become more trusting? What's your question?
I trust them, but...
No, you don't.
Okay.
And I'm not picking on you.
I know, because I said but.
Well, I mean, you just said, I've only checked the security camera once.
I
And then
know.
you had...
I know.
It was like the demons leaving your body. That is not a person who is dealing with high trust.
Okay.
And that's okay. I mean, I'm not picking on you, but let's
I know.
own it. So
Call me out, Ken.
No, you're doing great. You're awesome.
Thanks.
All right, so what's the question?
Okay, so how can I inspire them to lead while I'm away without delegating or micromanaging their leadership?
Did you tell them what to do
No.
before you left?
Nope. I said, you guys know what to do, so just do it and
Great. Hold on a
don't
second.
call me.
Hold on a second. That's actually the first step to recovery.
I know, and that's what I...
That's actually great.
Thank
No,
you.
I'm very serious. So that implies then,
Yeah.
my question is, that implies that you have shown them what to do.
Yes,
So you
absolutely.
didn't say you know what to do and they're all looking at you going,
Yeah, I told them, I said, you guys have all been trained.
Okay.
I've poured myself into you. I'm unfollowing our group chat, turning off my notifications. Do not call me.
Oh.
Take it from here. Please don't die.
It's great. Can I just tell you something? You came up here to get advice and you gave yourself your own advice and you did it, and I think you're crushing it.
Thanks,
I really
Ken.
think, yeah. And so here.
So on our next lesson, everyone, flip to the next
Yeah,
page.
so here's the thing. Here's what I want you to know. The way they're going to be inspired to use your word
Yeah.
is to realize that you didn't call them, you didn't jump in the group chat, and then even better, if you get back and somebody didn't do something the exact fundamental way, and it was a little bit of a oops, or maybe it was a major oops, but it didn't break the business, and nobody's gonna get sued. If you just go like this, Musa.
I've been rubbing my earlobes.
Yeah, you're doing great. I would encourage you to have a cigarette later during the break. I think it'd be great for you. All right, it's great.
That's the second cigarette reference.
I know. I don't actually think cigarettes are good, by the way. So don't send me any hate mail. I'm not going to read it anyway. Yes, sir, your name.
My name is Daniel.
Hey, Daniel, what business are you in?
So we do executive recruiting for engineering and manufacturing companies.
Excellent. Okay, your question.
So this is our second time being here, me and my partner, and this year we decided to bring 2 of our project managers here. And one of the most beneficial things that we grabbed from last year's conference was your Get Clear assessment. So we came back from the conference from Nashville last year, had everybody take the assessment in the organization. So we kind of understood what lit a fire underneath people, because we do sales and we build relationships with manufacturing companies from bottom level all the way up to the C level. So getting these results and looking at my leadership team, my question to you is, certain results produced, or certain people produce certain results, and you look at those results and you analyze those results, and some of those people aren't living up to what those results say, who they are as a leader, who they are as a person, what those distinctive traits came out to be. So from a leadership standpoint, I guess my question is, how do we get some of the leaders on our team to uphold those standards of, if execution is your number one strength, or whatever the character trait might be, how do we get them to follow through with that? I mean, we've tried
This
coaching.
is really, they're not meeting their potential. Okay, I'll give you a story from my senior year of high school. Basketball is my favorite sport, and I played for this guy named Coach Benny Polk, and he's my favorite coach to this day. I love him to death. Call him every year, tell him I love him. But he's a tough dude. Played college basketball, super intimidating, tough guy. And I am a Enneagram 3. I have affirmation issues. And so my senior year, a lot of promise. I was super excited. We had a very good team. And so the first couple games of the year, I was playing scared. I knew I was playing scared. My dad even said to me on the way home, "You're playing scared." And coach pulled me aside one day in practice, and he just got me in a corner, and he said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on with you?" Now, I would not use Coach Polk's approach, because he just stares at me until I talked, But here's the lesson. He stayed with me, and he basically, in his own tough, gruff way, was getting to, tell me what's up. You're not yourself on the court. And he told me that. And he finally got out of me, and I just said, I'm worried that every time I do something wrong, you're gonna pull me out of the game. And he said, did that happen at some point this season where I pulled you out and you didn't think you should have been pulled out? And I said, yeah, and I told him the game, and I said, you were pretty pissed. And he's like, yeah? And this tough, gruff guy said, look at me. There are times where I'm gonna do that, but I do that to everybody, yes or no? And we went through this little exercise. Bottom line is, he was getting at the heart of why I wasn't playing well. He got me to tell him, Coach, I'm worried that if I mess up, you're gonna jerk me out of the game. And so I'm no longer playing the game I love, playing to my full potential, playing with reckless abandon. I'm playing safe out there. And thus I'm in my head and everybody can see it. So in this situation, when you've got leaders that you know are not up to their potential, this is one-on-one stuff. And you're not gonna get that answer out of them until they know how much you care about them. I knew Coach Polk cared about me, okay? So this is a two-step deal here. If you don't have enough of a relationship with them to where they can trust their leader, the guy who signs their check, they're not gonna tell you what's really going on. But the minute that they know that you care for them and you're not there to get on them, you're there, because see, Coach wasn't jumping me in front of everybody. He pulled me over in a corner. This was a quiet conversation. And in that moment, 17-year-old Ken felt safe. So you're gonna have to get them to a place where you go, hey, I feel like something's off. Am I right? Let them, am I right? Ask a question, not making a statement. Hey, do you feel like something, where do you feel like you're at on your potential? Are you experiencing any frustration? Questions that come after you've developed trust. And so if you've developed trust with them, they feel safe with you, and then that's where we get to the bottom of what's going on. And it could be something where something's going on with their kid, and you're getting 20% of them that day because their heart's broken. You with me? Mm-hmm. So that's what you gotta do. You gotta do heart surgery. This is heart and head surgery, all right? Good question, give me some love.
Hey Ken, I'm Zach Petro in oil and gas. I'm mostly up here because this scares the crap out of me, but.
Good for you.
Thank you.
You got a little pucker factor going on?
Oh yeah, can you hear my heart?
It's gonna be great, you've already conquered it. Go ahead.
I've got a question about empowering leaders. We got a really cool opportunity recently. In our industry, there's a lot of cutthroat, like stealing of customers, and specifically what we do, which is hot shotting, is transportation in the oil field. A lot of guys will join a company, snag customers, and then go start their own because they think it's easy, and it causes a lot of damage. So our company, we believe in transparency and freedom and empowerment and raising people from the employee level to business ownership. And we got an opportunity recently where our guys all wanted to confer, like have meetings among themselves and discuss what they like and dislike about our company and then bring it to our attention. And of course, we were scared. We didn't want them usurping our power and authority. And then at the last minute, we realized that this was something we should empower, and we should tell them, we're not afraid of this. Go ahead and do it. Bring your concerns to us. And it was really cool. It brought us to another level of ownership of our team and buy-in. But what we're wondering as a team, I guess, is how do we elevate and give that freedom and transparency, but not toggle over to giving too much, and also dethroning people if they take that power to a wrong level that turns into a toxic company situation where...
Is dethroning your way of saying firing?
No, but when...
It feels like that may be a fireable offense, am I wrong?
Sure, could be. We don't have guys that we need to fire. Sometimes they get high and mighty and want to
Right, but you were saying, so you've given me a lot. Can you simplify that question? Because I don't understand your business, but you're saying, how do we give them transparency and some autonomy and some freedom? Right. But
to make decisions in the business or the direction of the business.
Then give them clear riverbanks. I'm gonna use riverbanks here as a very simple analogy, a simple metaphor, okay? In other words, water runs between the two riverbanks, and whichever way the riverbanks go, that's where the water stays, right? Sure. Under normal flow. So you've got to define for them, this is what autonomy looks like. You guys can make this decision, this decision, this decision, and this decision. That's what you can do.
And be clear about where those authority lines...
100%. Yeah, but again, you're saying you can make this decision.
Right.
This decision goes to somebody else. So I think it's just crystal clear boundaries or riverbanks and very clear communication. And then model it. If you're gonna let them make this, and this decision, then let them make it.
Sure.
Then, like Mr. Miyagi, if they don't do it right, pull them aside and go, okay, I gave you this, it's totally your call, no big deal. It wasn't the best decision, should have been this decision, here's why, and teach, and instruct, and encourage. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Given the opportunity to fail, too, and still be appreciated.
Well, that's the whole nature of autonomy.
Right.
And by the way, if you want to know one of the winning ingredients going forward in today's workplace leaders, because I'm hearing all this on the phone, and I'm looking at the data from Gallup and studying all this stuff, people want autonomy. That does not mean a lack of accountability. It means you trained me to do this, you've given me this authority to do this, and hey, let him come back. I'm gonna get to him quick. I hate to, come back, sir, I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna get to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Clear boundaries, clear riverbanks, whatever you wanna do there, And so it's very clear. You get to make these decisions. We will measure you on these decisions. Anything outside of these decisions is not your call. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Simple, simple, simple. Yeah?
Appreciate it.
You got it. All right, give him some love. All right, we're gonna do this real quick. We're good. All right, so we're gonna get these three, or no, you're with our team, so we just got two left. Okay, go ahead, your name and industry.
Hi, David. We produce hand tools and safety equipment for professional tradespeople.
Professional what?
Tradespeople.
Tradespeople, okay, gotcha.
So my question is, and I've asked this question before in other settings, and just looking for another opinion is, do you think that all people are capable of becoming good leaders? And I guess the background on that is, I've got somebody who's got the hard skills and the strong desire to get there, but is a little socially awkward, emotionally immature, kind of goofy, but has said she wants to be there. You know, she wants to be a director by 35.
How old is she now?
28, maybe.
7 years, sure.
But do you think everybody has the inherent ability to get there, I guess is the question.
This is the $1 million question here. I think it's nuanced. And I'm not being a politician on a Sunday morning show. I think if the want to is there, and so if we call that ability, so if someone longs to lead and wants to lead and understands the pure definition of leadership, that it is about serving others, then I do think that it's a skill that can be taught, okay? And so, you know, Dave has been very vocal about this, Maxwell, I mean, the people that, you know, leadership is a skill, you can learn it. Yes, you can. However, do I think everybody's cut out for it? No. Can everybody learn it? Yes. Is it for them? No. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I just think some people that shouldn't lead. And I think that's gonna come down to every time they don't want to. Leadership is just brutally hard. You all know this. And it's not for the faint of heart. And so if she wants to lead and this is back to the talk, she's one who's raised her hand to you. And I like the fact, as goofy as you say she is, I like the fact that she put a marker out there and said, by 35, I want to be this. I, as her leader, would honor that.
And I admire it for sure. She's that one in the back,
but I'd
pushing
honor
her hand
it.
extra high.
I'd honor it. And what I mean by honor it is start training her. Give her little opportunities. Carve out some task that would be maybe 1/4 of a leadership task in one of your other positions, and just as a special project, get innovative. Give her a chance. Now, when you said she's socially awkward, is she just weird or does she have a legitimate thing? No, I'm being serious because I'm not trying to be insensitive. I've coached people with Asperger's. I've done professional coaching, and they have legitimate challenges that are not, you can't principle around those. So when I ask that question, is she weird or does she have a legitimate, some type of a disorder that would be a challenge?
I don't think she has any disorder. She's just
weird.
goofy, yeah.
Great. The world needs more goofy leaders. I'm serious. Yeah, clap for that. I don't know why you're clapping, but it sounds like it's something. But goofy, sure. You know, here's what's interesting. You find the right role for her in your organization down the line, and you do that little exercise I taught today. Where do I need leadership? Who can do it? Who wants it? We know she wants it. Maybe there's a leadership role down the line where her goofiness is a superpower. You know? We got too many freaking serious leaders. Yeah, I'd like some goofy leaders, you know? Because I don't care how you do it, I just want you to help somebody get it done. And if you're telling stupid jokes along the way, fine, who cares? Get over it. She's goofy. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, thanks.
Hi,
all right,
Ken.
last one.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, you bet. What's your name?
Ivan Rodriguez.
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
in the e-commerce industry.
Okay.
Currently a solopreneur, but the whole concept of the Coach K principle really spoke to me.
Okay.
And I'm looking to potentially make my first hire. And so, similar to his question is when making your first hire, like, should you look for somebody that I would say has the capacity or wants to be a leader in that particular
What are you hiring
delegation?
for? Can you give me a quick 30-second job
It's more
description?
of a skill trade. It's like web development skills. So
I would not hire a web developer based on their potential for leadership. Right now, it's you, and we need somebody else.
Yeah.
And I would hire the best web developer, and usually the best web developers,
not great leaders.
they're a little weird.
Yeah. They're on that side. Yeah.
Guys, I love web developers, okay? I'm just telling you, stereotypes sometimes are true. So in this situation, I would hire the best web developer because I don't want you thinking about hire number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
I want you to crush hire number 2.
Yeah.
Because if you get this right, you get a great developer, then that's gonna open up more business, and eventually you get somebody in a leadership role.
Okay.
Or you train someone to lead, but you are leading yourself right now.
Yeah.
You haven't even learned to lead yet, correct?
Right?
Yeah, slow. I mean, I love the heart of the question. I love it. But in this case, not yet.
Okay.
You gotta learn how to lead him or her.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ken.
All right. You guys are great. Well, I was thinking, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna close, and I was thinking several months ago, I wanna just encourage you. I wanna just encourage you on this because this topic of developing leaders or growing leaders was showing up on the board out there, and it's obviously an important issue to you, and you guys are really busy. You got a lot going on. And I know you know somebody wanna get that? Because I'm not gonna be able to move forward. Did we get that? Somebody getting a text? That's great. It's exciting. This is what ADHD looks like. And so I wanted to encourage you because I understand that we talked about some technical, practical stuff that I hope was very simple to understand that you can walk back in your business and use. That's my heart today. But I also just want to leave you in my time getting to talk directly with you to encourage you that this is a big, big deal for you in your business to select and develop leaders under you. Not a lot of people do it well because it takes a lot of trust. I'm so glad Henry spoke on trust today. It's hard to let go of your baby. It's hard to trust. I'm acknowledging that, okay? I get it. But I'm telling you, if you can get this, that the great leaders, the great coaches, they're great, and I've interviewed them. They'll tell you to a person, they were able to assemble great talent. And to the extent that you can train a really good leader to become a great leader under you, or you can go out and get somebody and train and develop them in your system like these coaches do and turn them into All-Americans and turn them into champions, your business will be great and people will marvel at you. So I thought I'd go back in the Wayback Machine. I was gonna tell you a story. As you know, I got to host the EntreLeadership podcast for years. Before I joined Dave, I was a part of John Maxwell's organization, and I got a chance to interview leaders from all walks of life. And this was about 14 years ago. And I'm gonna show you a video instead of tell you the story because we found it on YouTube in some dark crevice. But I was trying to get into broadcasting, and so I came up with this concept called Life is Sport, and I through several connections, got a chance to interview some big names. I created 4 TV show pilots. I took it to Comcast Sports Southeast, 12-state network based in Atlanta, and that's where I was at the time, and somehow talked my way onto this show called Sports Night with this segment. But what you're about to see is just one question from an hour interview that we cut down into about 8 minutes. It was with the legendary Pat Summitt from the University of Tennessee, one of the greatest coaches of all time. At the time of this interview about 14 years ago, she was the second, still at the time, number 2 in all-time wins. And she was so gracious to me to let me come in and interview her. And I set that up because when you see this video, you're gonna realize it was 14 years ago, all right? So don't judge the quality, but I want you to hear one of the greatest stories about the secret to what we talked about today. Growing leaders. Watch this question and answer from Pat Summitt.
So take us to a moment where you experienced victory the first time, because we know you hate to lose, but that taste of victory clearly stuck with you. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember the first loss, probably more than the first win. And we played Mercer University. They were good. And I knew after the game that I just didn't do a good job, you know, and I was young and I just wasn't experienced enough, or confident enough probably. And I remember calling home, and my mother answered the phone, and we were chit-chatting, and she goes, "Trish, how you doing?" I go, "Doing great, Mom." Never even asked me about the game. Probably didn't even know we were playing. Or if she did, she probably just forgot about it, because she never was into sports. And I said, "Is Dad there?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Is it okay if I talk to him?" And because he didn't like talking on the phone much. And she said, "Yes." So she handed him the phone, and I've never heard him say hello. He said, "All right." Well, I was so nervous because I knew, you know, he knows how competitive we all are, and he's competitive. And I said, "Hey, Dad," and he goes, "Did you win?" And I said, "No, sir, we lost." Long pause, and I didn't know what he was going to say, other than, "You need to get out of coaching." But he said, "So you lost?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Let me tell you one thing. You don't take donkeys to the Kentucky Derby. You better get you some race horses."
Wow.
And he hung up. He hung the phone up. He never said bye. He never said hello or goodbye.
Right.
So the donkeys resurface. I wanted you to hear that story. What a great little line from her dad. And this is what the great coaches realize. They've got to go get great players. And I'm telling you, great leaders, and I hope your realization today, this afternoon, is I got to develop, I've got to grow some great leaders in my organization. I got to go find people that I can grow into great leaders. And to the extent that I do that, I become the best leader that I can be. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here for you. Dave Ramsey's here for you. Our EntreLeadership team is here for you. Our elite coaching program is here for you. We want you to win. We need you to win. Your people need you to win. And dare I say, America needs you to win. EntreLeadership, it's always an honor. Thank you guys. You've been a great, great audience. I love you. Appreciate you very much.